is Joy News Prime.
This is your election headquarters. My name is Araba Kumsin. Thanks for joining us. And coming up on Joy News Prime tonight, minority MPP in Parliament accuses governing NDC of performing poorly in the development of the nation's roads. The governing National Democratic Congress rejects claims by its critics, particularly the opposition New Patriotic Party, that the economy under the Mahama-led administration is worse off compared to previous administrations. Aggrieved trainee nurses and midwives have presented a petition to the office of the president to get the government to address their concern of non-payment of allowances or lose their vote. But the health ministry says their concern is already under consideration.
Coming up in business, Bank of Ghana sets up committee to begin work on reviewing minimum capital requirements for commercial banks in the country.
We'll also tell you the story of what poverty among the poorest in Ghana looks like and what you can do to help these. Plus sports, entertainment and interactive segment, all coming up in this 2-hour package, which is also available on ABN Television across Europe, DSTV and GoTV. Stay with us. We start off with aggrieved trainee nurses and midwives who have presented a petition to the office of the president to get the government to address their concern of non-payment of allowances. Scores of trainee nurses and midwives Thursday morning poured onto the streets of Accra to express their anger. Matilda Wemega reports.
The demonstration was earlier scheduled for Monday, September 19, but the police did not allow it, saying it had inadequate men to ensure orderliness. On Thursday morning, over 600 trainee nurses from some health institutions across the country converged at the Obra Sport in Accra for the demonstration. The demonstration was also to advocate for the employment of all qualified nurses and midwives. As the aggrieved nurses complained, government has failed to create job opportunities for them. The aggrieved nurses and midwives trainees said government risk losing their votes if it does not show any commitment to addressing issues affecting them.
We want it now. We are in the third year. We want it now. I know where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a family where things are really getting hard, and as part of the constituency, we are supposed to have our allowance. The allowance is supposed to help us we students. You know, I'm just thinking about after licensure will be posted, and you know, somebody might be posted to the northern, somebody might be posted to the western, and you know, all these things, when you go, you have to pay for your own accommodation. You have to get a place to stay. You see, it is a hard thing. I can't really see my parents doing all these things by themselves. This allowance is to help us. Okay, so they'll take those burdens from our parents.
We need our allowance. We are begging him. We need our allowance. We are begging him in the name of God. He should just listen to us, because if he doesn't listen to us, we are not voting. We are not voting. If he gives the allowance, we are voting. If he doesn't give it to us, we are not voting against him. No allowance, no vote. No allowance, no vote.
National President of the association, Godwin Asabere, says attempts to get government to address their concerns has largely failed.
Government should put on paper that it is true that the school fees should be a flat rate of 1,400, because that statement that came out, it is still happening in all the various training institutions, and then they are still charging us of the fees. The clinical charges that they are charging us of, we want them to write to all the hospitals and ask them that they should desist from taking those monies from us.
The trainee nurses later converged at the Heart Spark to present their petition to the president. Executive Secretary to the Health Training Institution Secretariat, Christopher Byre, received the petition on behalf of the government.
Initially, the high rocketing fees, which they talked about, we did something about it.
we tried as much as possible to write to the various hospitals not to charge them the clinical fees. And we have evidence of letters the sector minister signed telling the various facilities not to charge the clinical fees. So at a point in time, they also have to face the reality, and I appreciate what the ministry is doing.
Actions are going to be taken since you have already written to the institutions not to charge unapproved fees.
No, we have a team in place. They'll be going around to check whether some of the schools have refunded the unapproved fees or not. So very soon you'll see a team going around. We are not blind to the issues of the students.
The group insists they will use all legitimate means to get their concerns addressed. Matilda Humaga for Joy News, Accra.
Meanwhile, the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman, says the ministry does not comprehend the reason behind the trainee nurses and midwives demonstration. According to him, the trainee nurses or the trainees' concerns are being addressed.
Various misunderstanding between what they presented before going on and then what they presented.
You keep going back to it, but does it take away the issues that have been presented in this petition?
Yes. It means that you have not been truthful to us. You've not been truthful to us because you brought issues and we were discussing. We had roundtable discussion with them. So if you go around and you are bringing a different document through the back door, issues that we expect that we've dealt with, you are bringing them down. And you, the same persons who are supposed to be working, you are talking about unemployment.
So you are saying that the association hasn't been fair to you because these issues are already on the table, which it's being addressed.
When I woke up this morning and I was listening to some of the radio stations and I heard some of the issues, I said, what is happening? How can these people be talking about allowance whilst they themselves are now negotiating to up that allowance? Why would these same guys who are workers who are supposed to be in their post by now, telling us that we've not recruited people? Why are these same people talking about clinical allowances? So you can see that they have no focus. They are just trying to bundle the issues, those genuine issues.
If you say they are not focused, you're being unfair to them.
Yeah.
Because these are genuine concerns which they are putting across.
If you have two documents, if they are focused on issue, you have one document and you'll be dealing with it. It confuses us.
Now, the 2016 Economic Freedom Index has revealed Ghana is 72nd out of 186 countries with a high level of economic freedom. The latest report by Washington-based Heritage Foundation also reveals that Ghana has not been performing so well in the fight against corruption, losing some 22 points on the index since 1995. Joy News' Joseph Akaple has more.
The index seeks to assess the extent to which countries have absolute rights of property ownership, labor and capital movement, as well as absence of constraints against economic liberty. Ghana placed 5th out of 46 countries on the African continent, while placing 72nd out of 186 countries worldwide. Research fellow at the organization that collates the index, Heritage Foundation, James Roberts, believes Ghana's good performance can be attributed to stable democratic governance.
So here is Ghana, and so congratulations to Ghana for having a score above 60. That score of 60 is really the kind of the floor of a country that has some freedom. At least have some freedom and not be below that, where they get into the unfree and even repressed countries. So they have, I think they've been above that 60 mark for quite a while. But what draws your attention is the performance on some indicators, such as trade freedom, where we still see a lot of maintaining the rule of law, having a constitutional system. I know the other night I met with a gentleman who talked about how Ghana survived the death of a president a few years ago, and how the Constitution worked, and there weren't troops in the streets with AK-47s. It was a very measured, a very reassuring transfer of power, and that's that's a real test of a system, clearly, and Ghana clearly passed that.
The country, however, did not perform so well in the fight against corruption, losing some 22 points since 1995.
Ghana has, since we started the index, Ghana's performance on investment freedom has gone up significantly, as has its trade freedom and its financial freedom to some degree, and but it has dropped on corruption. So I guess it dropped from a higher level, maybe. But since 1995, Ghana has lost 22 points on corruption, and whereas Cote d'Ivoire in the same period actually gained a slight amount on corruption of 2 points, and also gained on trade freedom and investment freedom. So,
NDC Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, E.T. Mensah, who was at the event, believes the country's performance in the fight against corruption can be improved through collective efforts.
The fight against corruption is cannot be something that you do at one short thing. It's a process. It is not an event. So it started from somewhere and it's still going on, and governments have come and governments will go and come, and this will continue. So for me, like President Kufuor said some time ago, corruption days from Adam, and we just need to ensure that all of us must fight corruption at all levels. It should be at all levels, and we should see it as a process, not an event.
The forum was organized by the Institute of Economic Affairs to offer Heritage Foundation an opportunity to present the findings in Ghana.
Now this week, world leaders meeting at the UN General Assembly are focusing on how to fast-track implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. One component is the reduction of poverty in member states. To tell the story of what poverty amongst the poorest in Ghana looks like, we visited a community in the Ashanti region where abject poverty has forced some siblings to share school uniforms with each other just to acquire education. Joy News' Dorcas Bwedu visited the Bedu family and reports the children have been sharing uniforms for a year now.
During the first Bedu, we go school from RC Primary A, regional JHS 1. In the fair primary, not me shakana pa, no Russia Korea. In Tinemo or Dema Diane Pontam, no wood in a school nature air train into your power, no me now ready a man, no wood maker. Everyone saw Diane and your boss, and I'm the maker of few, and got some namide uniform number and no one should go school. In the first and papa, we are feed ye, show squat a Ubian Shannon the other, a sham back, Marco, your power, no one what you call, or buy a near the abuse you might see, near the hatter, and you want to use your son, Nancy, or near the hatter them at the bench now. Say, I'm here quite in Quimpen. If you say it's got a lot of things, you're quite in Quimpen. See, a quite book, quite true, quite in Nippin, quite in Quimpen. A more money is cabadi, a monk, a monk, and any do see an uncle. Those a more.
This family is one that represents the poorest of the poor in Ghana. 10-year-old Juliana Bedu loves education, but going to school is a daily headache. She doesn't only share her uniform, but has been sharing Faustina sandal for 3 months now since hers got spoiled.
Everyone say you cheap people screaming for cry, and then isn't papa or mammy sentimental and fiancé. Missika Kunkochia. Titi will meet me, Pammy, say I'm not fear.
Their mother, Mrs. Bedu, says 7-year-old Gabriel and 5-year-old Nicholas both have to share the same uniform because she can't afford to buy another one. She's been living on a farm for almost a year because of harassment from debtors. ɛyɛ dintia na nkula no adra na adwobo 7 o'clock no mu kɔ na nwire mu obi mpo na ɔmasesa nkomo kɔ sesa ɔnam nwire mu no manya katreve na mu de aba tidu ya da no makoton na mu de atogele mu de ni fi to mu koton a na mu de atogele treatment to school ko no ma to won ni je na kan na ja mu de bi so no mu di na krenti me ba anadwo na ahomache no me ba na sagele mu kakra bi se de ba ya ɔmbɔ no kono na ntimi bi se kakra kwa na mu so tifi na mu so dididi plan so mboko school ana pani de ni hu hom ti se enumla na dwo na mba mangi fon na tata me fi fon so ba ti na ma me yesama me fi ebo 5 o'clock na me ko ti ebo anadwo 10 na be fi ebi kwa me ko fo mu a me ko sha emme bi asisa me hu so wo mo pi bi ma e fra abo bi nyanya nkyire wani nyina bi adan kwa me da no sa na premier beseme no hu so me da no nti ni pusu me hu na boa no etwe no ko gba ba bi asa na me sorry me fa me button me dim me kaba baba. It wasn't always like this. Things became tough for them after the death of their breadwinner, Mr. Bedu. Faustina, the eldest, says life was better for her when her dad was alive. She says her siblings sometimes go to school on an empty stomach.
School because I'm going to school with you until my I'm going to school until I can't mamma because I'm I can't crab in my and this I'll call you. Your chair exams here I am bar from one hand, Missy. In the numbers and the member man for Monchani, Piper, Father, Buff, and yes, I'm myself, Mr. About me, I get John, will be warm because of my catch on papa, will be a catch and papa. You are baby this time to me, so when I got you, Papa, when you say that one number, Patia, sing there, no o'clock crying. Because quiet no bodies of first school morning discovery, and will be our my scan. For quite from Grabessa for one mother, she said, you dear. Number to squat a lemon will be affibia, tontally, and my
Until this family gets support, the children will continue to share school uniforms, whilst their mother stay on the farm to prevent debtors from troubling her.
So a really sad story there, and Dorcas Boydu, who filed this story, joins me in the studio with more on this story. Dorcas, very sad there, heart-wrenching story. Tell me, how do they get by every day? What do they do to, you know, in terms of food and everything else, how do they get by?
Okay, so their mom tells me that in the evening they go to the farm and pick snails and then sell them and then make money out of it. So the money they realize from the snail, they buy gari, a tin of tomatoes and oil. That's what they live on.
I see. Yeah. So we saw the siblings having to share, you know, the uniforms. Very, very sad situation there. Tell us, I mean, how is this affecting their learning at school?
So the district has a shift system where you one go in the morning, the other goes in the afternoon. So what happens when the elders go in the morning and comes back, then the second born goes in the afternoon. So the day the first born does not close early, then it affects the second one. So she goes to school and she's late and she's keen. And you know, when you go to school, first thing when you are keen, you are already traumatized, and so that's what happens. And so, yeah.
But are the teachers, are they aware of the situation, of this situation?
So a visit to the school brought out the fact that the teachers didn't know anything about this, and so they were surprised. We actually knew about the situation.
Okay, so it was because of your story that brought it to light to the teachers.
Yes.
Okay, and how are they responding to the situation?
So the headmistress said that they will go to the district's assembly and put their case before the district assembly and see what the district assembly can do for them.
Okay, so how can people help? This is really, you know, a terrible situation to be in. But how about those who want to assist in any way or form? What can they do?
Okay, so when we put the story out there on our Facebook page, we've had a lot of response from them. So we have come up with an account number, which is a Barclays Bank account number, a Circle branch, and the account number is 04120180095. I take it again, 04120180095, and then a mobile money number which is 0540122 So I take the mobile number again. 0540122 and the account number is 041201809 Barclays Bank Circle Branch. The account name is Multimedia Group Limited.
All right, thank you very much, Dorcas Boadu there. And if you would want to help, you can walk into our studios or our newsroom and you can help by donating school materials, learning materials, or school uniforms, anything you can, either in cash or in kind. So God bless you in advance. This is still Joy News Prime. I'm Arba Kumsi. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back. This is your election headquarters, and with 75 days to the elections, campaigning is heating up. Now, Vice President Kwesi Bequeng Emisa Arthur has kick-started a 3-day campaign tour of the Eastern region. The tour is to canvass for votes for the ruling National Democratic Congress ahead of the December general election. The Vice President is expected to meet with chiefs and religious leaders in some constituencies. Eastern Regional Correspondent Edwin Kofi Siao is on the tour with the Vice President and has come through with this report.
Vice President Kwesi Bequeng Emisa Arthur was given a rousing welcome by members and sympathizers of the NDC at Nkoko. At Nkoko Zongo, he interacted with the chiefs and imams and shared with them government achievements in the eastern region. In a speech, the Vice President said even though electoral fortunes in the area has not been favorable to the NDC, the party has never neglected them in the equitable distribution of the national cake.
We are not partial. The revenue Ghana generates is for everyone. It doesn't matter if you voted NDC or not. We solve whatever water or transport problem. Which other government can be compared to John Mohammed's?
To 1957 and then 2016. And then 4 years of thinking to abandon the same to
The Vice President, after meeting with Zongo leaders, launched the party's campaign in Nkoko. He introduced the party's parliamentary candidates Taminu Halidu and urged the supporters to vote massively for the party. The tour took the Vice President to the palace of the Kofodio Yokohene, who is also the Eastern Regional Representative of the Council of State. Vice President Emisa Arthur also held a closed-door meeting with Nana Kodua Kese. The tour continues on Friday to Osiem, Akroso, Swedru and some surrounding towns.
Now let's turn our attention on the flag bearer of the Progressive People's Party, who says the approach to solve the developmental needs of the country is to tackle the basic needs of the citizens. Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum says prioritizing health, education and poverty eradication should be the basis for development of the people. He's been addressing students and lecturers of the Spiritan University College in Ejusu in the Ashanti region. The second international conference on poverty management is being attended by politicians and academicians. Apologies for the poor quality of that sound. We'll bring you that much later on. Now, the managing editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt, has predicted that the NPP's manifesto, which is yet to be launched, will be regarded as unacceptable and useless by other political parties. According to him, until there's change, parties or politics in Ghana will be played like a football game, inspired by passion and not common sense. He made the revelation at a one-day youth entrepreneurship seminar held in Accra.
Politics has become like the competition between Kotoko and House of Folk. No sense, just passion. So that is part of the problem. Everything you say in this country, somebody will find a way of putting it into a picture hole. And you know what is interesting? Sometimes in the morning, you go and say something. Say, hey, this man is an NDC man. Then in the afternoon, you say something, say, no, this man is an NPP man. The same person in one day. Why can't we discuss things on their own merit? And it always has to be MPP, NDC. You watch. If you haven't noticed already, watch from today. There is this classic one. Let me deal with this classic one. Then I'll tell you what to watch. You know, recently the president launched the manifesto of the NDC. Yeah? Then immediately the MPP people held a press conference and they said, what? This manifesto is our own manifesto. He stole it from us. So I said, then there's no debate. It's ended. Because if the two parties say they have the same manifesto, then what is the debate about? 2 days later, they held another press conference and said, everything in that manifesto is bad. Does it make sense? The manifesto that they stole from them, now the same manifesto is bad. Now, MPP will be launching his manifesto very soon. Let's wait and see what will happen. I can make the prediction without a mistake. Nothing in that manifesto will be accepted by anybody on the other side. Everything in that manifesto will be wrong and useless. We can't run a country like that. You can't run a country in which one faction is always right and one faction is always wrong. It is not possible. We have to change that.
Managing editor of the Inside newspaper, Kwesi Pratt, there. Let's stay on the campaign trail because the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, has been continuing his campaign of the Greater Accra region. He's been visiting some coastal communities today, and my colleague Latif Idris was with the campaign team. He joins me in the studio now. Latif, I'm sure you've been traveling the whole day. I imagine you must be tired, but that's part of the job. Exactly. Tell us, where has Nana Addo been? What's been telling the people?
Yeah, Nana Addo visited Sege, Ada, and then the Ningo Pram constituencies today. Some issues came up, during his visit. Nana Addo made the point that these three constituencies over the years have not been voting for the MPP. So he made a passionate appeal to the chiefs and people of these constituencies to come to his aid now, give him a try. This is his third time of asking. He's come in 2008, 2012, and 2016. Now he wants them to give him the chance. So
he went into enemy territory, as it were, because it's a predominantly NDC area.
Exactly. It was evident at the rally organized in Ada.
Yes.
After paying a courtesy call on the paramount chief of the Ada traditional area, there was a mini rally held, and it was like deserted compared to what we've had from Tuesday and yesterday. You could see that, yeah, he was indeed in an enemy territory. It was very obvious. But I was speaking to the women's organizer of the party, Otiku Jaba, who told me that for them, it is a major boost to their campaign because the three constituencies over the years have not been voting. Whenever they organize rallies, they don't get people attending. So this time, even the few they had today, is a boost to, the campaign team of the MPP.
But let's talk about Nana Addo himself. What has he been telling the people there? Is it any different from what he's been telling, the electorate as he travels?
Today, something different came up. He's been promising one district, one factory, one village, one dam in the northern region. Now, today, he visited these coastal communities. So he made a point that during President Kufuor's time, he started a project in the Volta region, Keta sea defense wall. Now he's saying that if you go to Ada and its environs, they're also facing similar challenges with high waves hitting them here and there. He's promised that if elected as president, he's going to construct a sea defense wall in these communities. Secondly, he's also promised to build on natural resources in the area. We have vegetables and salt in this area. He's promised, if given the nod, he's going to build 2 factories. He's going to have vegetable factory and then salt factories in this community. So these are the promises made by Nana Addo in this community. Now, let's come down to the chiefs. Interestingly, Nana Addo paid a courtesy call on the paramount chief of the other traditional area.
Okay.
And what came up was that the chief decided not to speak.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, the paramount chief...
Why is that the case?
I don't know. But he decided to delegate one of the sub-chiefs to speak on his behalf.
Okay.
I mean, he made a passionate appeal to the guys in the area not to go about snatching ballot boxes and all of that. On the flip side, in Sege, that is the Sege constituency, the chief openly declared his support for the MPP flag bearer.
Okay, so let's clarify this. In Ada, the chiefs were not too, accommodating of the MPP flag bearer, but in Sege, the chiefs were
openly was shouting, Yezu, and this Rado was, it got everybody laughing because we didn't expect the chief to do that, and he did that in a style.
I see.
So that's the flip side. Today was, it's been packed like, the campaign started in the Greater Accra. Now tomorrow it continues in the Tema constituencies, and then we come down and wrap it up in the Krowo constituency here in Accra proper.
All right, many thanks, Latif Idris. It's my colleague there following the NPP campaign team. We're taking a short break. We'll be back with business. Don't go away.
A very good evening to you once again. Welcome to business. Now, government is expected to make another round of 110 million Ghana cedis payments to banks that players in the energy sector are indebted to. The Finance Ministry last month began the process of clearing the about 2.3 billion cedi energy sector debt with some $250 million payment of VRA debts. However, with latest figures from Bank of Ghana, it suggests banks still fear a large chunk of their loans will not be paid on time. This has raised questions about government's commitment to paying the debt. But speaking to Joy Business after the annual general meeting of the Ghana Bankers Association, President of the association, Alhassan Amdani, says government is expected to make another payment in December.
The data you saw dated in the sense that that's a bit in the past. That was at the crunch, at the peak of the negotiation, before the negotiation started. So since we've started the negotiation, we've received $250 million. So that should begin to show. And also we expect the first quarterly payment end of September. That should also come true. And then we expect a second quarterly payment end of December. So the numbers Bank of Ghana should reflect either end of December, September, or year end will begin to show the decline in those NPLs. But the data that came out recently is the data prior to negotiations for the debt repayment.
Indeed, this is where to stay for all your election-related stories. And now the minority MPP in Parliament is accusing the governing NDC of performing poorly in the development of the nation's roads. Whilst touting the achievements of the erstwhile Kufuor administration, the party, amongst other things, accused the governing party of owing contractors and adding less than 1% to the road network per year since it took office. Joy News' Maxwell Akbakba was at the news conference and has come through with the following report.
The press conference at the Job 600 is what the minority calls the true state of the nation's road network. The minority members accuse the NDC of doing little to improve Ghana's roads. The MP for Ejisu Kwabena Osei-Duomi, who addressed the media, claims an amount of 184 million cedis for road finance project is owed contractors.
As at the end of July 2016, for road fund finance projects, the government owed 184.6 million Ghana cedis, while there existed an outstanding bill of 501.2 million Ghana cedis for roads projects financed from the Consolidated Fund. The government, as at the end of July 2016, expended 400.3 million Ghana cedis on road fund projects and not less than 598.6 million on the Consolidated Fund.
For the minority in parliament, the state of the country's roads leave much to be desired, comparing the Kufuor administration on one hand and the Mills Mahama administration on the other. Mr. Osei-Duomi accused the NDC of adding less than 1% to road construction over an 8-year period. Apart from road construction, the minority criticized the government for the poor state of roads due to what it says is poor maintenance.
The nation's road network has suffered the worst maintenance in the history of our country since the NDC-led administration took over in January 2009. Road maintenance, like the maintenance of all other infrastructure, is important and critical for the preservation of the huge capital investment the country has over the years made in the road infrastructure to facilitate the growth of the various sectors of the economy and reduce poverty. Maintenance of our roads, however, has since January 2009 been persistently poor, erratic, usually delayed, and of untimely interventions. It has been relegated to the background, and this neglect has resulted in the rapid deterioration of our roads.
For solutions, Mr. Osei-Duomi charged government to pay up debt and concentrate on completion of all roads currently under construction.
The government ought to concentrate on the completion of the numerous road and bridge projects, over 2,000, ongoing by appropriately limiting award of new ones.
For Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Now, the governing National Democratic Congress has rejected claims by critics, particularly the opposition New Patriotic Party, that the economy under the Mahama-led administration is worse off compared to previous administrations. At a forum in Accra dubbed Setting the Record Straight, Transport Minister Fifi Kwete said the NDC's performance over the last 8 years is much better than that of the MPP under the Kufuor administration. We can take a listen to him now.
Incompetence is when a government sets a target of 4% budget deficit in 2008 and finishes the year at 15% deficit, missing the target by a massive 11%, and in the process recording the highest budget overrun in our history from 1983. That's incompetence. Incompetence is when a government sets out to build 4 major road projects called the Gang of Four, and that government doesn't even have a clue where the financing is coming from. That's what they call in the Bible deciding to build a mansion and you don't even have a clue where the money is coming from. That's MPP for you. Definition of incompetence. Incompetence is when a whole government gets scammed by a phantom IFC company and goes through the global humiliation of chasing non-existent $1 billion loan all the way into a hairdressing salon. That is the definition of incompetence. Incompetence is when a government sets up a whole ministry in charge of railways and still fails to deliver 1 centimeter of railway line. Actually, that's worse, presides over a situation where some of the old lines that were being there before that government came started being sold as scrap. That is the definition of incompetence. Incompetence is when a so-called economic guru praises the macroeconomic performance during the period of President Mills, while attacking the same President John Mahama for not handling the economy well from 2013 today, without even realizing that it's the same President John Mahama who was the head of the economic management team during the period 2009 to 2012. It is incompetence not to realize that.
So that's Transport Minister Fifi Kwete there responding or reacting to criticisms by the NPP that the Mahama-led administration is incompetent. Well, the NPP has put out a 170-point from that lecture by Dr. Bawumia, challenging government to respond to the NPP running mate's claims. In an apparent response, Fifi Kwete described the presentation by Dr. Bawumia as lazy analysis, touting the achievement of the Mahama-led administration.
Now, John Mahama is the real deal, and the reason why. As chairman of the economic management team between 2009 and 2012, he led the NDC to chalk unprecedented feats, among which are the highest GDP growth in the history of Ghana in 2011, single-digit inflation for nearly 3 continuous years, the highest cocoa output production of 1 million metric ton since 1993. In fact, I think even much earlier, we've not hit that. And then the same leadership of John Mahama, when he was head of the economic management team, took the treasury bill rate to as low as 10.3% at the close of the year 2011. Now, John Mahama also, as head of the economic management team, led the NDC to raise resources to take care of the 4.1 billion cedi arrears left by the NPP, including the 1.5 billion total debt that the NPP left behind. But today, instead of actually applauding that man who absolutely cleaned the mess left behind, they have the audacity to point to him and call him incompetent. Now, John Mahama as well raised resources as leader of the economic management team to ensure that we pay for the gang of 4 roads which the NPP incompetently started without even identifying any source of financing. John Mahama as well worked hard to ensure that the economy never returned to the era when cocaine cash was inundating this economy. And John Mahama did so in order to ensure that whatever growth we achieve in Ghana is not tainted by the huge quantum of cocaine money in the system. So we're talking about proper growth, not some kind of growth. As elected president since 2013, John Mahama has, despite the magnitude of the single spine salary, that posed a huge challenge to fiscal stability, especially 2013 to 2015. John Mahama has still managed to keep inflation below 18%, where the NPP left it. With the exception of 5 months, our inflation, even in this difficult period, has remained.
Time for sports now. Gary L. Smith is our man in our studio with all the details. Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, so what's up in sports?
And this will be the local stories. Today is more about local stories that are dominating the headlines.
All right, take it away.
Thank you very much. And we begin with the news that the sports minister is speaking. Now, he's speaking about the Winneba Sports College. He says that it's to be fully converted into a fully fledged tertiary institution. That means the Winneba Sports College is going to continue awarding tertiary qualifications, but this time it's going to do more, as he tells us now.
We've also talked about how the University of Ghana is going to take over, in collaboration with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Winneba Sports College to turn into a full-fledged tertiary institution awarding degrees in sports psychology, sports medicine, sports administration, and physical education. We've had diminishing returns as far as our human resource capacities are concerned, because people finish the then Winneba Sports College, they become PE teachers, and in the educational service they don't get the opportunity of developing like the way any teacher starts from ordinary teacher and could get herself or himself promoted to a headmaster. The PE people were not getting that way, so along the line all of them moved into a mainstream classroom teachers. And I said, over the period, we've lost all our PE instructors. And I said, we are not able to really nurture and groom and develop young athletes and young sportsmen and women at the grassroots level. We want to reopen Winneba Sports College to give opportunity to all of you who want to go into mainstream sports coaching, sports administration, sports psychology, sports medicine, and physical education training. Already we are working in collaboration with the local government, and over the past 3 months, we've had close to about 120 people trained from the Winneba Sports College in various areas, so that they will go back to the districts and help in the coordination and the development of sports.
And that's how we wrap up Joy News Prime for today. I'm Arbor Kumsin. Join us same time tomorrow. Good evening.
This is Joy News Prime.